Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. It's 2022. It's a new year. It's another year of The Payoff. 52 more classics coming your way. But first, Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
I am ecstatic to be covering this match. There was no other way that we could have started 2022 at this point. We've got so much wrestling. Like, we've got day one is behind us. It's, the start of 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom over this week. We've got the Battle of the Belts on Sunday or Saturday night as well too. Like, you got Royal Rumble at the end of the month. Like, 2022 wrestling, like, you know what? If you can't find something to watch in wrestling, you're doing something wrong. Like, you're a bad mark. Like, figure it out, because we got a lot of good matches, a lot of good wrestling that's out there live as well too. I'm ready to do this.
All right, man. Well, let's get right into this one. Are you ready to talk about it?
I'm right, buddy.
This is your jam, man. I know very little about this stuff, so I am a listener. I will. Yep, absolutely. I'm excited to learn about this.
I am the New Japan to your ECW, and so this is why we help each other. And this is, like I said, let's just get into it. I'm pumped.
All right, it's time for the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So we've got New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom 10. January 4th of 2016. And man, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but 6 years ago, this match took place. Yep. Tokyo Dome, 25,000 in attendance. I will apologize in advance for butchering some of these names, but we start out with the Young Bucks defeating Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, Matt Sydal and Ricochet, and then Roppongi Vice. Yes. Roppongi Vice.
Beretta and Rocky Romero. Yep.
Wow.
Right.
Really interesting. Well, and Young Bucks were accompanied by Cody Hall. I have no idea. Do you know what's happened to Cody Hall?
No.
Scott Hall's son? I mean, a big son of a bitch. Training was over there. I'm thinking this guy's going to be a big star. I have no idea what's happened to him.
I don't either. Yep.
We got to try and look that up. I am really curious. In fact, I'm just pulling up Wikipedia right now. Did some stuff in MLW in 2020. DDT Pro Wrestling 19 and 20. Pro Wrestling Noah 17 to 19. New Japan, he was in 15 to 17. I mean, so he's been a wrestler for 10 years now.
Yep.
I really have no idea what I'm really curious. I mean, he's now 30 years old, so
we'll do some digging. Yep.
Yeah, really interesting. Okay. Then in the 6-man tag team championship match, Chaos is going to defeat the Bullet Club. Jay Lethal is going to defeat Michael Elgin. I've heard of him. I've never seen him wrestle.
Yep.
Kushida, who we know is going to defeat Kenny Omega, who is your IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion.
We're starting to now. So that was we're now at 4 stars, and it only goes up from here.
So this show is nuts.
Yeah, we close out with a 5-star. Yeah.
GBH is going to defeat the Bullet Club tag team of Gallows and Anderson.
Yep.
Who's this next one?
We got Goto defeating Naito, of course. But Los as their stable is Los Ingobernables de Japón. And so with Bushi and Evil, if you want, I'll close this out for you. I'll help you out here. And
yeah, go ahead. I'm just noticing we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 championship matches out of 10 matches.
Yep, absolutely. And so in this, the Goto Naito match was I think the only non-tag team match, because even like the Jay Lethal match was a Ring of Honor championship, so there was some crossover there at some point. And so then you get into Shibata and Ishii for the open weight championship. Most people know, Shibata has a crazy story of he's almost like a Daniel Bryan, breaking his neck as well too, and again injuring himself, and then coming back as well too, and out there as well now, which is just fantastic. This match that we're about to get into for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship of Nakamura taking on AJ Styles, and then the 5-star match to close out the show, just between two great wrestlers, Okada, of course, who everybody knows, as well as Tanahashi, of course, who everybody should know. Met him in person, actually, great guy, as well too. My brother and I actually got to talk with him, and so really cool. And so with who knew the stars of New Japan at the time, all the way from the Bucks to the Bullet Club, to Chaos. When you have Kushida and Kenny Omega as your 5th match, and then you only build from there, it says something about the quality of the matches that you're about to get.
So is this regarded as one of the best mega shows of all time?
Probably. I'd have to look and see exactly where it was ranked, but you have the worst match was actually the Briscoes match, and Takahashi, and Tama Tonga's match. So that was only 2 stars. Everything else was pretty much 4 or better. 3 3/4 stars was the Young Bucks and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, the 4-way match. But everything else was really like 3 3/4 or higher, which is just crazy to kind of think about. There was probably some shows out there that with and they have to be New Japan shows that Meltzer has probably ranked, just as high. But in regards to overall, like knowing where all these names have kind of come and gone now, it's hard to argue with this not being one of the best cards. It's weird to see Bullet Club, Gallows and Anderson where they are now, Kenny Omega where he is now. So yeah, but interesting for sure.
Wow.
So
I want to go back and watch this entire card.
So getting into it. So where do we have here? So this match, Wrestle Kingdom 10, it was actually, it started to be set up on November 7th, 2015. You had Nakamura retaining the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. It was actually against Carl Anderson at Power Struggle. You then kind of having previous to that, at Destruction in Kobe, Nakamura defeating Goto. That's when he won the belt. Actually, was the 5th time, actually the most reigns ever with that belt until Naito beat him. And one of my favorite, Naito treating the belt like shit, which was part of the storyline, just absolutely destroying it. He was spinning the belt above his head before Seth Rollins was spinning the belt above his head. And so Naito becoming a 6-time champion in 2020. But so Nakamura, that was his belt, for, just so long. And so, what happened was prior to this match, the Nakamura announced that he wanted to defend his title at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom. So it was an open challenge, and he said, anyone that wants to come forward, that's fine. And so after that Carl Anderson match, of course, being in the Bullet Club together, AJ Styles actually came to the ring to challenge him for that, which Nakamura accepted, no problem. And so they do, and if you've never watched them, I encourage anybody, they do true press conferences with everyone kind of at the tables and things like that. Now, almost like UFC style, which is fantastic. And so they have the belts in front of them. There's, a little bit happening. There's always been some great memes and GIFs that come from it as well, too. Kenny Omega falling asleep at the table and things like that, or kind of mouthing shit to other wrestlers is always really good stuff. And so you kind of having that. And so it really, it just kind of, it was the open challenge because Nakamura had beaten beaten the Bullet Club members, he was going to be taking on AJ Styles in this one. So, and Nakamura, like I said, longtime champion in this one. And so, and we will talk about it a little bit here in the aftermath of Nakamura was at the end of his New Japan career here. And so we'll get into that, but keep that in mind as we're kind of going through this match, is that very quickly after this, Nakamura would leave. In addition to that, and so him not the only one as well too, a lot of these players that we're talking about, you had AJ Styles actually taking on Naito at the previous Wrestle Kingdom 9 Tokyo Dome match where Styles was victorious on this one. And so he was actually a little bit in the heavyweight championship picture. He pinned Tanahashi. It was a tag match. They had a match between the two of them. He actually beat Tanahashi to win the heavyweight championship. It was his second time at that point. Defending the title at a bunch of different shows. There was Invasion Attack. There was the New Japan Cup where he beat Kota Ibushi, of course. A lot of people probably remember from the Cruiserweight Classic, but has an incredible career in New Japan as well too. Part of the tag team with Kenny Omega as well too over there. And so he actually lost. It was Dominion losing the belt to Okada at that point. And so, of course, as most of the wrestlers do, from July to August, late July to August, taking part in the G1, the tournament that they have, the month-long tournament that gives you the opportunity. And this is, I wish WWE would do something like this. If you win, you have about 8 to 10 matches in the G1 tournament over that month-long period, 2 different brackets. Whoever comes out on top of their bracket in mid-July, August gets the shot at the championship at Wrestle Kingdom, which isn't until January. So your main event for your largest show in the summer. So you have that whole time to build for it. And so you just don't see a build like that in WWE. We probably never will again, but that's how it was. And so Styles actually winning his block, it could have won his block, but then lost to Tanahashi at the end of that one. He ended up with a record that year of 6 wins and 3 losses. Anymore, you usually have to go undefeated or only 1 loss to win your bracket in the G1. And so, but was close to that one. And so it got a rematch for that one as well, but was defeated by Okada at that point. And then, like we said, getting into this, after Nakamura kind of ran through the Bullet Club, AJ Styles at the time, who was the leader of the Bullet Club, saying that he was going to be taking on Nakamura in this match. Now, in WWE, it was always like a big deal of like, are we going to get, is Finn Balor going to join? And, are we going to get when are we going to get Nakamura AJ? At this point, these guys had only had like 2 singles matches, or no, excuse me, it was their first singles matches, because they had only had tag matches previous to this. And so 2 of the biggest wrestlers in the world, it's almost comical at this point to think that these guys before this Wrestle Kingdom show never had a singles match together. They had 1 tag team match in 2008 and another one in 2015. And so almost like just crazy to think about that, of just like how well these guys are and things like that. And so some of the other members of the Bullet Club at this time too, you had Anderson and Gallows, you had the Jacks, or the Young Bucks as well too. You had Tama Tonga in here as well too. There was a small period where Jeff Jarrett was in it as well too. Kenny Omega was a member, but he was not the leader of the Bullet Club at this point, which we'll talk about a little bit. Like you saw, Cody Hall was in there as well too at this time. So they were a big stable. That's why you always see so many Bullet Club t-shirts and stuff like that. Like there was just a lot of those guys kind of running around and stuff like that. And so him being the lead, really AJ had been the leader at this point for quite a bit through early 2014 up until this match taking place in 2016. And so a lot of different things happening. Like at the time, like these 2 were regarded as probably 2 of the best in the world, whether we knew it or not, stateside. So there's just a lot happening and a lot going into it. I think there's nothing really more to say other than, Tom, let's get into this one.
Dude, I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So we'll post the link to it, but we have the Daily Motion video posted by Meng's Mullet. And the title of the video is simply Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. Are we ready?
Believe so, sir. Give me that point. Let's do this.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Okay, so both guys kind of dancing around each other a little bit, kind of feeling each other out. AJ, both guys looking fantastic. This is too.
AJ looks awesome. I mean, they both look just a little bit. I don't know, maybe a little more fit than they are now, especially AJ.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a little bit younger AJ. I mean, it still look great. And so this is too. We skipped over the entrances on this one. These are entrances. I want to
make sure we have the same timestamp. Where are you at right now?
I am at 6:34, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6:40, 1, 2.
We're good.
All right. And so we got them locked up at this point. I would recommend to anybody go back, watch the entrances. They had being Wrestle Kingdom. It is their WrestleMania or, vice versa, whatever it might be. This is one where you want to watch these guys come into the ring. Nakamura is one of the greatest entrances ever. You can tell this was when, he really got diluted a little bit as the years went on in WWE, but just an absolute, just showmanship. That's all I can think of when I watch him. And so kind of working the mat at this point. AJ kind of got him wrapped up in between his legs.
So the deal with AJ really, I guess, for this entire year of 2021 was tag match, right?
Yeah.
Almost. Okay. I could live with it, right? I'm like, not everyone can be in every single main event,
yeah.
But do you share my sentiment that, okay, it's time we do something with this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they need to pull the trigger, and I'm wondering if that's they're being too hesitant on that as well too, because they're not sure. I think we've heard some of there was some kind of rumor dirt sheets that AJ's kind of over this as well too. I think he's looking at kind of the end of his career, kind of seeing it, and so he wants to have some of those big matches. I don't know if he's going to have them in WWE. I don't know if he'll ever go to AEW. I think he could if his contract expires and the terms are right.
They better not fuck this up, right? He's one of the best ring workers of all time. Okay, you did the tag stuff, whatever. He barely worked this year. Get his body right, whatever. But you need to give me the Edge match.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's give him the swan song. Yep.
Yeah, there's probably 5 or 10 other guys that he needs to be working with.
Yep, absolutely.
So we got to stop fucking around now.
Yeah, and I think do the breakup. It's time. There's no reason not to. They don't even have the tag. Get the tag belts, all that other stuff. Let's figure this out because it just needs to happen. Plain and simple. I think even Nakamura so underutilized. At this point, he's had the belt forever. Why aren't you? Even if you make him a mid-card guy, which he's not, but man, you're just not using him. And so, you and I've seen him on the NXT circuit. We watched him in all the takeovers and stuff like that. Great kind of transitioning and stuff like that from both guys. Why they're just not using him better because he's so over. Every time the crowd, kind of cheering chanting his theme song, but they don't do anything with it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Trust me. I know, man. I know. I mean, it's, they gotta, I don't even care what they do with the Omos thing. I mean, you could make him a bodyguard. You could, have him turn heel, whatever. I don't know, but they need to just get those two separated and figure out what they want to do with Omos and get AJ back into some meaningful programs. I mean, you could go with, and I forget Raw and SmackDown, but I'm going to
stop you. Here comes the classic GIF that you've seen sometimes with AJ shooting Nakamura and Nakamura swallowing the bullet. And so as part of the Bullet Club. Yeah. And are they having him fill the Braun role? Is that what it's happening?
Well, that's another guy I wanted to talk about. I was thinking about it the other day. So you give Braun Strowman the super fast, clean win over Goldberg. Mm-hmm. You give him the Shane McMahon treatment with the big spot. but clearly you never had anything for this guy, and now he's gone. And it's like, I look, I have no problem with them cutting guys, but I just don't understand how 1 minute a guy is getting a push, the next minute he's cut from the promotion. Same thing happened to Bray. Like, why? What's the thinking here? I mean, did they not get over? Well, who the hell knows? I mean, who's over and not over? What data are you even looking at to determine that anymore? I don't know. It was just funny that I was just thinking about how, again, they did so many things with him and then he's gone. And that's like, well, why not give somebody a win over Goldberg where it would mean something, not a guy that's no longer around.
Right. Yeah, and he showed up at Ring of Honor Final Battle as the Titan, as we all know, which great name, ring name, especially for him. And so who knows when he'll kind of pop up again and stuff like that, because Ring of Honor is, supposedly shut down till April, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see what's happening and stuff like that. So,
hey, another guy I'm hearing only has one match left on his agreement is your boy Goldberg. So what do you think? He's done or what?
It's going to be Saudi Arabia. Because we actually figure we're due. And if you figure it's every 6 months, we're getting a Saudi Arabia show. It should be February, March that we get another one. I hope it's done. God, I hope it's done. But every part of me, like, I get it. Like, he might pop a rating, which I don't even know, because, like, do ratings even matter anymore? They're just so historically bad, and because they're making their money, it really doesn't matter. And like the ratings war, eventually, you might get like these, AEW is going to beat them a few weeks in a row, but it's hard to say. And so I want him to go away. But I know that I feel that way about him. Some people feel that way about Brock. Like, I'm actually riding high on Brock right now because they're doing it. And it all boils down to they're doing a good job of the story with him. And so they're making me believe that he's going to run, buckshot through everybody and beat, whoever he needs to. And so I don't know. So great little submission hold here from AJ, kind of wrapping up Nakamura.
And I find it hard to believe that Goldberg will be done, because I think he likes having a couple big matches a year.
Yeah, right. Sadly, I agree.
To get in great shape, and you're making a couple $1 million working a handful of matches a year. So I actually find it hard to believe he won't want to re-sign. And if you're them, how many bankable stars do you have to put in a big match a couple times a year, especially, to your point, for those Saudi shows? So it's like, if I have, an attraction match at 2 Saudi shows a year, and I can get a Rumble, Survivor Series, WrestleMania, SummerSlam match out of him, or 2, there you go. There's 2 to 4 matches a year, and we get what we need. One thing I was thinking is, maybe there's a fresh matchup or 2 you could do, but I'm like, maybe you throw him in a tag. I mean, what if, whatever. Let's just throw out a name here. Drew McIntyre's getting double teamed by 2 dastardly heels. And then boom, Goldberg comes out to save him, and the 2 of them work together. And then you don't have to worry about a short Goldberg match. You don't have to worry about Goldberg trying to do a 15-minute match. And you just have him do his big spots as a tag team. Or you partner him with a younger guy. Is there someone out there that, you have high hopes for, that you just say, hey, would be cool to bring out Goldberg?
Well, and then you get into the can they coexist match. And, eventually then you say, hey, whoever he's paired with is who he eventually has a match with.
Yeah. And so they can win the match, and then someone turns heel on him, and there's your fault. I mean, I'm just saying something else other than the simple Goldberg, he's 55. He wants to show his kid he still has. I mean, it's like, I'm just trying to think of something that would be a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm. We're on the outside now. Nakamura, you had a big backbreaker onto AJ, and now we're kind of running into the rails and stuff like that on the outside. Yeah, it's hard to.
Who are those guys surrounding the ring?
Yeah, so for those of you that aren't familiar, just the setup is a lot different. And so you can see there's the camera crews that are there. It's just their presentation style is a lot different. You've got the kind of ring security and things like that. And so unlike WWE, or like, they don't try to hide the cameramen. They make it part of the, part of just kind of what you see and things like that. Now, as you can see too, I've talked about this before on the show. If you're watching this match, if you notice, especially when they're standing, like it's how they present it, but the camera angles are lower. And so they've got this wider when they go to the wide frame, but then when they show like right now, you can see the camera's looking up at them. And so they do that to make them actually look like larger than life type characters. And so it's just kind of how their presentation style is and kind of how they do it. Nakamura in the corner, not kind of giving the knees to AJ, working him real stiff. Oh man. Yep. So big knees kind of driving him. Yeah, so it's just a lot of the presentation and how they do it, and things like that. And so you'll see a lot of wide frames. You don't ever really see the crowd much. Even like there isn't always a lot of crowd reaction either. Kind of lining him up for the Kinshasa now, like which was at the time was his move and missing. Yep. And so yeah, the camera guys just doing their thing right there. Yep.
Where do you want to see Nakamura go?
I actually think I think he'll end up retiring in New Japan. I think actually we're hearing rumors, or Kairi Sane's contract ended, and so I have a feeling with WWE she let it expire, and so which again another one that I wish they would have used her better. They sent her over to Japan to potentially kind of work there and be part of that NXT Japan and stuff like that, and just didn't work out. I know she got married as well too, and so she didn't want to travel to the US because of COVID. But now it's looking like she's going to end up back in Stardom, which is where she got spent so many years. And so I think you're going to start to see almost like an NFL type style of like people going back for, maybe a match or two, to wrap up their careers where they want to wrap them up, and they can have a big match. They sign a contract. Oh, there's the forearm after Nakamura missing the knee into the corner.
It was a hell of a forearm.
Yeah, he flew on that one. So yeah, I think that he will eventually probably go back to New Japan because he can have some matches with some big names. Because I think the dude can still go. We just don't see him enough. I don't think it's
always tough to know. Like, can they still go? You don't know. They're not given an opportunity.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, that's the thing. You don't see him, so we never know. And so, so these guys, again, big suplex going for the big stuff. Oof, big snap suplex into the corner. Going at it tough. Yeah. And so I think that'll be the case. And I think that's part of the excitement of where we're at right now is we don't know where certain people are going to end up. Is that there's actually options for once. Now, yeah, I don't think like Tony Khan said there's maybe 3-4 people that were of that like most recent release class that he really wants to calf crusher going for it and Nakamura in the ropes that he really wants to sign. We don't know who they are, but that's the other thing is like some of these other people like, okay, like the Adam Shearer, Braun, Titan, whatever you want to call him, ends up showing up at Ring of Honor. Like Impact has always been the name that I've seen kind of floating out there. But I seen like for whatever reason, like AEW has already signed Bray. We just haven't seen him yet, but who knows what to believe there. But then some, they got like Peyton and Billy that go and are successful as well too over in Impact. I mean, Impact is not ever, a whole lot of people don't watch it, but they're putting on really good shows with really good wrestlers. And so, I agree. I wish you and I had the money to start a promotion because we would have started it already. Like,
thinking about Nakamura, I mean, arguably he was an instrumental part of the best NXT show they ever did. But what's your commentary on the current status of NXT and
oh boy,
how did it get so bad?
I think Braun Breaker could be a star if they want to be going for the knee here and
even with that
again.
Stupid ass name.
Yep, I think so. And because he has said he was the one that suggested that, which, you know what? Okay, fine. Like, I'm not going to that's what he wants. I'm not going to fault that, whatever. Like, I don't have to agree with it, but that's just what we're doing. So AJ can reverse and he got him in the calf crusher again.
What is his nickname, I think in college was Breaker.
Yeah. So if there's some rationale,
why not just call him that then? Just call him Breaker.
Well, it's only a matter of time because, Vince is going to drop one of the names. So, but that's the thing. And so even who was it? Well, somebody on commentary was saying like in an interview that like, while he's aware of NXT, he is aware of the work that people do like prior to them, like being a part of WWE, they are told not to acknowledge it. And so again, like that piece of it's so unusual to me of like, people coming up and like Piper Niven / Dewdrop / Viper, that's the biggest one. Like, it's like, yeah, everybody knew her as something else. And then she shows up and she's and she's Dewdrop. Like, okay, whatever.
I think Vince operates as if it's 1987.
Yeah.
And, hey, we've never seen this guy in New York before. So, but guess what? You got the internet. I know who these people are. I know their stories. I know who their parents. I mean, yeah, I know this kid. It's Rex Steiner, right? It's Steiner's kid. It was
within a day, everybody knew that. Yeah.
I mean, it's immediately. And so it's all right. So don't insult my intelligence. Like, you can't, just because you don't follow it doesn't mean fans don't follow it. Like, fans know the story. Fans know I mean, you can't have AJ and Nakamura at WrestleMania without acknowledging that this match took place.
Or calling them something else.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah. Well, and I think Gargano got out at going for the Styles Clash here. Here we go. Nope. Nakamura blocking it. Gargano got out at the absolute right time. Like, I think somebody said it, like, maybe it was Ciampa, but like, they just don't see, going for the Kinshasa again. They don't see a future for them in the new NXT, which I don't disagree with that at all. Like,
and Gargano, I mean, they ain't going to do shit with him on the main roster.
No, and I hope he doesn't.
You'll be Chad Gable.
Right, exactly. And I would hope, because he had a huge following before he signed with WWE. I think he can go out and be extremely successful anywhere. There's just some of those guys that, and that's what you're saying. Cause I feel like so many times we hear about other wrestlers saying they really want to, if they could wrestle anybody, it'd be Chad Gable. So the guy's just, his work is incredible. I think Gargano is kind of in the same boat. I think Ciampa, while he'll do the work, I think he's going to go too. Where, I don't know, but they're really building it up with Fatal Attraction, Mandy and all that, and Gigi and stuff. And so I don't know. I haven't been watching it. I'll admit to that, because it doesn't excite me like it used to. Because I get, they always say, I don't think they know their lane yet. And I get they're trying to figure that out. So I won't fault them for that, but they don't know if they're supposed to be who they're appealing to. I get caught up in reading into the ratings too much of certain quarters of the show and stuff. It's it doesn't have to be that technical. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. These guys just back and forth now, beating the hell out of each other with forearms. I
was thinking during War Games is they should have just used this for Survivor Series.
Yeah, I did too.
That actually would have freshened up Survivor Series if you had 2 War Game matches.
Because Survivor Series was so bad. And so, it's just not worth it at all to watch it. And so, and we've talked about it before, ways to freshen it up. Who was it? Xavier Woods had some really good ideas of whoever, the teams or things like that, get, entrance, or what was it? If your team wins the Survivor Series, you come in at 25 through 30 to the Rumble. If you lose, you're 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Which great idea. Maybe it's not a great idea. I think it's a cool idea.
Something.
But it's different. Yes, exactly. It's something different than we're getting right now. And so these guys, a lot of kicks. There's a Pele kick, kind of AJ taking out Nakamura, and there's the knee again. Man, these guys just really going in.
It's a hell of a match. A hell of a lot better than what they did at WrestleMania. I don't know why that just didn't work, man.
And you can say, again, this goes back to the whole, they just need they just need to go out there and let them do what they're doing. And this is the slow burn, showing the crowd now finally kind of panning over. But again, it's just a different atmosphere. If you never watched New Japan, you don't have signs in the crowd. You don't have everybody, there's not a whole lot of standing up and cheering. There might be some applauding and things like that. There might be some chants from time to time, but just not a whole lot else happening. So, yeah. Not that they're not involved in it, they are. And so a lot of pinfall attempts at this point. I would say that's one thing they're going for a lot of. Oh, whoa, big knee, just dropping Nakamura. This is cool. We'll talk about it on another show too, Tom, but this is, if you're ever watching a New Japan show, the referee is affectionately known as Red Shoes because he always has red shoes on. And so, there you go. Big splash. He is there. I guess you could say Earl Hebner or Aubrey Edwards, kind of head of referee. And as you can see in the shot, he always has red shoes on. So
just that ref or all refs?
Just him. Red shoes, Ono. Yep. And so these guys, big knee, dropping Nakamura, kind of selling it at this point.
What do they do from a TV standpoint? Do they have a weekly show?
No, typically not. There might be some kind of things that are happening. They're showing the belt right there. It's mostly the kind of pay-per-views, the kind of big shows, but they're doing big shows all the time. There might be some things happening, kind of recaps, or there might be, but they don't have like a TV deal like we think of like WWE or anything like that. Like a lot of the stories are told just kind of, outside of the ring or stuff like that. Like they do a good job of like the press, like I said, the press conferences as well too. In the media and things like that. Like it's just handled a little bit differently. And so, And so there's, again, these guys, man, head scissor kind of taking AJ down into an armbar. So it's just handled a little bit different, and kind of how they do it and things like that. There's advertisements for a shake weight in the ring there. That's something you don't see in WWE either. It's just, but how they handle the storylines, but also you have like the Bullet Club kind of telling their stories. Like I said, Naito and kind of, like I said, you had Los Ingobernables was one of the Mexican kind of stables as well too, and then they added Los Ingobernables de Japón for it's translating to the Ungovernables of Japan, or just the Ungovernables, and so that's how they're kind of their stable that they have, and so and kind of having that, and they have far more than WWE does a good job with the kind of a half Styles clash there. Yep, didn't get both arms hooked though. Yep. No, only a 2 count, 2 and 2.75. They do Chaos, Bullet Club, all these different kind of stables and things like that. And when you're seeing people, and so, and that's how they can tell the story. They're showing that Styles clash again. Oh, yep. Didn't get it all, but got a good amount of it.
Yeah, this is unbelievable, man.
This is like last week. Like I said, it takes a while to get cooking. And so these guys, now that they're cooking, we don't have much match left. And so, but they're still working stiff as hell though, too. And so, there's a big suplex there from AJ. Yeah. And these guys, you wonder how many, maybe 2-3 years left, maybe, hopefully not, and so you really want to get the best out of them, no matter where that's going to be.
AJ only has 1 5-star match from Meltzer.
Which was what?
Him versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe in a 3-way.
Which we watched. We watched that one. Yep. Okay. Yep. And so that makes sense, which was weird.
Yeah.
Did we not? Yeah, we did. With the cage or whatever it was. Yeah. Yes. And so
then he has 11 matches that are 4 3/4 stars,
which doesn't surprise me. Yep.
Then I wish there would be more. Another 19 matches that are 4.5.
Wow.
Which is way more, because, I look at this for a lot of these guys. It's way more than most.
Yeah. AJ trying up on the top, sitting on the turnbuckle, trying to get Nakamura up for something. You got to account for Nakamura. You want to look up that too real quick. Just going to see. Here we go. Oh, fireman's carry. Nakamura got AJ on his back.
Oh,
yep. Oh, yeah. That was like a falcon arrow off the top. Wow. Nope. This is in the crowd where you're hearing it right now. That's where they kind of get it's that low roar gets a little bit louder and stuff like that. So
such a different culture, man.
Yeah, very much so. It's even right there. Everyone's still kind of in their seats and things like that. It's just very interesting to see. So yeah. Yep, getting into it. So both guys crawling, just really after having beaten the crap out of each other. Nakamura lining him up for the Kinshasa again, though. Going in for the knee. Yep, AJ crawling him. Yep.
God.
Oh, man. Okay. That was stiff as shit. Oh, my God. On the back of his knee, back of his neck, unloading on him. Yep. And this is the strong style that this is why he is known as the king of strong style. Some of this stuff, just absolutely obliterating, how tough he is with some of this stuff. Oh, and he got it again. Yep. There we go. Maybe one. Finally. Yep. After 2 massive knees. Great stuff. Stiff as hell. Yep. Kicking the crap out of each other.
What a match. Wow.
Also, Shinsuke, another banger from Shinsuke with the theme songs. I've been talking about that a lot lately. So add that to your playlist for 2020 or 2022. Now where we're at. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay. I got a lot in the aftermath.
All right. Let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
Go ahead.
It's been a while since I've watched the whole match. Which you really need to watch it because it's just a slow burn into, again, like we've talked about in years past, the slow burn into just really getting a good match. It takes them time, but it's absolutely worth it once they get there.
I love what they're doing afterwards. Do they always do this?
Yes, they do. Yep. And so Tom asked who was ringside. This is the guys that were in the red jackets, kind of the medical team. They've got an ice pack on AJ. They're kind of tending to both guys, just kind of checking on them and stuff like that. Yeah, this is very common. Yep. And so this is important. Leave it up if you haven't turned it off yet, because we'll get to a moment here as well too that we'll talk about and kind of what they're doing with both guys kind of getting up onto their feet. And so yeah, it's been a while since I've watched it, but you really need to watch the whole thing. And so this is another. We're getting to just the classic kind of shot of these two guys. Yep, right here, both of them on their knees and about to fist bump. AJ kind of hesitant.
Great, man.
Yeah, looking around, and if. Each guy fist bumping each other. Great show of sportsmanship. Yeah, because that's how shit, like just a phenomenal match. And so now everybody's cheering. Just fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, how about so you don't watch a whole lot of New Japan, Tom, but your thoughts?
I mean, excellent. And it's just, but you see what these guys are. I mean, not that I didn't know it already, but like you see what these guys are capable of. And it's like, man, why can't we get a banger like this a couple times a year at like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam? I'm not saying you go out on Raw and do this, but dude, like who the hell's not going to react to this stuff? Really, really good. I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah, as AJ is. Yeah,
no
absolutely.
Pun intended.
Right. So what do we have here? So it was after their first singles match ever, obviously Nakamura coming out on top, retaining the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. And so it is the classic kind of show sportsmanship, both guys on their knees, but still fist bumping each other. Just absolutely fantastic. So New Japan. So a lot of time where we are, or at least where I am on the East Coast, like the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom show will typically end somewhere between 5 and 7 in the morning because of like the time change and stuff like that. So by the time like I had woke up, I remember like it was actually my brother who had kind of sent me that, we had, at the time we were kind of watching parts of the show. We'd wake up and then kind of watch it. But then within, midday, like lunch, the reports started coming out that both AJ Styles, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Shinsuke Nakamura had all given their notice to New Japan the next day. And so it was really like, well, not even the next, over like, that day, like the morning. And so that they would be leaving New Japan and going over to WWE. And so how did this play out, though? And was another great clip to go back and watch. This was, a name that we did not talk about much here. This was the ascension of Kenny Omega at this point. So what you had was the Bullet Club, like I said at the start here, Kenny Omega being a member. This was AJ Styles kicking Kenny Omega out of the Kenny Omega kicking AJ Styles out of the Bullet Club. So how it played out, just the short version here, was you had the Anderson and Gallows in the ring. You had the Young Bucks. They looked like they were kind of trying to support AJ. And then you got a triple super kick from the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And then you had Anderson and Gallows showing that they had turned on AJ as well too. So they pretty much beat the crap out of Styles. He cut a promo, and then Kenny Omega then took over. And so Styles was then, removed from the Bullet Club. It was great great if you're kind of watching it. It is in English with Omega, so he cut a really good promo, and so that's one I would watch. And so, but then you also had him taking on Shinsuke Nakamura, and so this was that Bullet Club removed from the Bullet Club was at the time. Who knows what moving forward here? AJ's last appearance for New Japan. And so, and I had forgotten about this. He was actually on, I didn't even remember the show. He was on a WWE television match on Metal. It was Jacked Metal, Jakked.
Yeah.
And so he was AJ was in a match in 2002 on Metal. And so for those of you who don't remember, Metal ran from August 1999 to May 2002 and replaced Shotgun Saturday Night. And so, and it was aired like in the afternoon. And so I did not remember this at all. It's one I'm going to go back and kind of look into, but yeah, it was just, yeah. And so almost 200 episodes. So there you go. But, so you had that. And of course, AJ then not debuting again until it was January 24th, that Royal Rumble, and coming out, or 2016 and coming out for that, entering at number 3. If you remember, there was the big uproar at the time because the camera showed Roman Reigns instead of AJ, and the crowd went ape shit. And so they had to like recut it as like the unseen footage of AJ Styles' debut, which that's the video that's out there now. It's kind of funny. And so, kind of going on, taking on a lot of different people, lasted 29 minutes in that match. And then he entered a storyline with Chris Jericho, which if you remember was fantastic as well too at the point. And so them kind of having a match. That's one too at the time, like Jericho and Styles. Yeah. Get the matches you can. And so you did have at this point though, you had Anderson, Gallows and Nakamura still having a little bit of time on their contracts. And so they had to finish those off a little bit. So Nakamura's final match was actually on January 30th. But in the meantime, WWE was already promoting all of these guys as coming over. And so, it's kind of interesting how it played out. And so that was his last New Japan match was January 30th. It was January 27th when William Regal announced that he would be taking on Sami Zayn at TakeOver Dallas. But that wasn't until January 31st that his contract was actually up with New Japan, like all of his commitments and stuff like that. So almost weird to feel like that overlap, like WWE would probably lose their mind if there was ever that kind of overlap, but for whatever reason, when it's Nakamura, it can happen. And so, so it's then the end of February 22nd where they had the press conference actually in Tokyo, which you remember Triple H, and they announced the signing of Nakamura and things like that. It was a big deal. Of course, there was the Triple H photos we all know and love. And then the April 1st was Nakamura and Sami Zayn in his debut match, which it feels weird to think that was his debut match. If I remember correctly, Sami said like they didn't really call it ahead of time, because there was also the language barrier as well too. And so, but they got out there and they had probably one of my favorite matches of all time. And so just really cool stuff. And now here we are. So yeah, so the ratings on this one kind of off the charts. You had AJ at number 4 on the PWI. Nakamura was number 7 in 2016. And so the type of match, and this is the PW Torch, the type of match that Styles and Nakamura presented on Sunday and their highly anticipated first ever singles match is so different than anything a WWE only fan would be exposed to. It's going to be fascinating to watch how that translates to the main WWE product and whether Vince even understands what's so special about them and their ring styles and charisma. They won't be holding any 12-minute show opening monologue segments. That's not their area of specialty, which... it's a really interesting take. And so one of the beat writers said on this one, the showing of respect at the end was a nice touch as New Japan lets the fans show their appreciation for Styles on his way out. Obviously, there's an ulterior motive as well as elevating Kenny Omega into a top heel role as the new leader of the Bullet Club. Nakamura won at 24-24. Wow, what an epic Tokyo Dome match. Nice steady build to an epic finishing sequence and conclusion with both men leaving everything in the ring. Then a show of respect after the match. That was definitely Tokyo Dome magic before the main event. As for Bullet Club, there is no more title gold except for the Young Bucks capturing the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag titles. Interesting to see what the future of the group is in New Japan. As the writing of this, they didn't necessarily know about Kenny Omega. 4.5 stars from the PW Torch on this one. The Observer newsletter, he gave the main event a perfect 5-star rating. The semi-main event, 4 3/4 stars. Readers of Wrestling Observer newsletter voted Wrestle Kingdom 10 the best major wrestling show of the year, while naming the main event the pro wrestling match of the year. However, AJ Styles, I'll get it. Shinsuke Nakamura pinned AJ Styles to retain the title. The place popped big when this match was put on the video wall. Can't say enough about this match. It'll be one of the best of the year. Nakamura defeated Styles to retain in a classic match that lived up to and even exceeded high expectations. 4 3/4. With Nakamura and Styles, WWE will pick up 2 of the best wrestlers in the world today. Some would argue the 2 best. Both are geared for the main roster, not NXT. That's a fun take. Although either or both are spending time in NXT, wouldn't be a surprise. So you got 4.5 from the PW Torch. You got 4 3/4 from the Observer newsletter. Super high marks from just all around. Tom, go for it.
Man, I got this thing at a rock solid 9. And maybe it's not a 10 just because I don't know enough about, the promotion and everything else. And dude, I loved it though. I thought that was off the charts. Excellent. Dude, it was stiff as hell. It wasn't like spotty. It wasn't like, oh, it's just a bunch of choreographed. I mean, it was just 2 guys just beating the shit out of each other. But man, you had some great high flying. You had some stiff stuff, near falls. I don't know, man. That was just out of this world. And as a WWE mark, I'll just say I wish it took place, in front of 100,000 people at Jerry World. But again, I know that's a big stage over there too. So I loved it, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I can't give it anything less than a 9.5. I know I've been scoring high lately, but I don't care because this one it's absolutely, it's phenomenal. We can't not say that enough. Just absolutely worth it. I recommend to anybody, go out and find this one. If you're going to start, your wrestling year right, if you're disappointed with what day one was, or, you need to get your fix, just go back and find this match because it's absolutely worth it. It's out there. So, really good stuff. And you know what else everybody should do, Tom, as we kind of wrap up the show, our first of 2022?
I don't know what.
I absolutely want to remind everybody, start 2022. I'm just going to say it. Start it with clean shaving balls. Plain and simple. I'm going to put it out there. Use our promo code PAYOFF20, 20% off, free shipping. Start your year off right with all their different products. Tom, we've talked about it. We can't tell you any more about it. We if they come out with something, we order it. We are no bullshit when it comes to this stuff. So we want you guys to make sure that you're getting the opportunity to use their products, because don't buy the cheap shit. It's going to break down. Spend the money on the good stuff. Use our promo code PAYOFF20. It's absolutely worth it. Make sure to check it out.
Agreed. I love it as well.
I'm good to go, man.
All right. Great episode. 51 more to go this year. As always, thank you for joining us on The Payoff.